Morning, everyone. So, welcome back to the session on your operating system. So, today, since we were discussing about the concepts related to something called as deadlock here, so in the previous session, we discussed about something called as deadlock avoidance, right? We actually discussed about avoidance algorithm, and we have seen how the system tries to avoid a deadlock situation coming into the operating system. So for that, what we had to do is we had to give some prior information. Whatever the processes which are going to perform operations on the system, they have to provide prior information before itself. Prior in the sense nothing but before itself, that how many resources it is going to use and how many instances of each resource that particular process is going to access during its execution time. That we have seen it. But now today we are going to discuss about something like a scenario where we are assuming that where we cannot apply deadlock avoidance and deadlock prevention methods, there we are going to perform this particular thing, something called as deadlock detection. So how can we perform? So this is what we are going to discuss in this particular scenario. That is nothing but detection. Now we are assuming that we cannot apply deadlocks prevention or deadlock avoidance also. Deadlock has come up in the system. So now what we have to do is we need to determine where exactly that particular deadlock has taken place. So here also we have one nice algorithm similar to the one what we have seen in the deadlock avoidance algorithm. That is nothing but your bankers algorithm. So in this also, like bankers algorithm, we are having something called as deadlock detection algorithm. It is also very easy and similar to the previous one, like the safety algorithm, what we have seen, same like that, but with a small modification. That's it. Remaining processes very same. So today we will try to cover something called as deadlock detection algorithm, and then followed with that we'll discuss how we can recover from that particular deadlock situation. So if we talk about deadlock detection, now here also we have something called algorithms. I mean, deadlock detection algorithm scheme. That is what I have already explained it. So here in this particular case, there are also two ways of finding a deadlock detection. One way is when we have single instances. Same like in your deadlock avoidance, we had single instances of resources, right? Same way here also, instances of resource. Same way here, also we have single instances and multiple instances. And these are related to resources I'm talking about. In resources, you can be having a single instance or multiple instance. What do you mean by single instance? Means at a time, a particular process, only one process can try to access this particular resource. At a time, only one process can try to access the resource. Then we call it as a single instance. If it multiple instances means simultaneously, more than one process can try to access this particular resource and they can perform their task. That is what we call it as multiple instances. For example, yesterday on the previous session, we discussed about something called as printers, isn't it? And in the printer, I said that one printer may be able to handle 5 requests simultaneously. So this is what we call it as multiple instances. But if you take a previous older version printers, very long, around 10 years back, whatever the printers we have, at a time, only one user can give a request to this particular printer. So only it can handle one request. So that is what we call single instance, means one user at a time can access that particular resource. But if you talk about today's printer, they can handle multiple instances, means they can multiple users can access that particular printer at a time, and that is what we call it as multiple instances. So in this case, if you talk about single instances here, we are going to use a resource allocation graph. That is what we have seen in the previous session, resource allocation graph. Now, where we have seen something called as claim edge. Claim edge, when we were discussing about something relevant to what we call I mean deadlock avoidance algorithm. Here also we are going to use resource allocation graph, but this time the resource allocation graph will be called as wait for graph. When you are coming to deadlock detection method, we will be calling a single, I mean the resource allocation graph as a wait for graph. Now here, what exactly we are going to do is very simple. Whatever the graph you people are taking here, okay, I will show you diagrammatically so that it becomes easy. Yeah, well, I'll go to the next note so that I can explain it perfectly. Now, you know that in the previous session or the previous videos, you might have seen how the resource allocation graphs are represented. Circles are used for representing processes, right? And squares are used for representing resources. And within the squares, if you're having dots, if you have two dots means at a time two users can use this particular. So this is what we call multiple instance. Since I'm talking about here single instance means I will be having only a single dot. It represents that only one user can at a time access this particular resource. Okay. So here I'm going to represent that now. So you can see I'm going to represent a resource allocation graph. If you see here, there are 5 processes here that are represented using a circle. So P1, P2, P3, P4, and P5. Now I have around here 5 resources here. You can see this is R1, R2, this is R1, R2, R3, R4, and R5. All these are single instances. Single in the sense they will be having only a one dot. They will be having only a single dot. Means only one user or the one process at a time can access that particular resource. Okay. Now this is the communication between them. This is how they are communicating. Now, what does this mean? Let me explain it. R1, so you can see the arrow is from resource 1 to process 2. What does that indicate? That this particular process P2 is having this particular resource. Now, if you see here, this condition P1, from P1, the arrow is going towards R1. That indicates that P1 is requesting this particular resource R1. Same if you talk about R2 here, R2 is actually having an arrow towards P1, means this R2, whatever the resource is having, that we have allocated to this particular process. And this is the way how exactly it is represented. This is the directed one what we have. And based upon the arrow representation, you'll come to know whether the resource is allocated to the process or the process is requesting that particular resource. Okay. Now what I'm going to do in this particular detection algorithm is I'll try to abstract this particular graph. Abstract in the sense what I'm going to do, I'll simply remove this particular resources. Whatever the resource you're saying R1, I will remove this. R3 also I will remove it. I'll cut short it. Okay, I'll make it shorter. Whatever the graph you people are seeing here, I'll make it as a smaller one. How can I do it? It's very easy. So I'll simply remove these particular resources. And when I'm removing the resources, there is a link. So for example, if you see here, from P1, there is a link going to R1. From R1, there is a link going to P2. So when I remove or disappear, make this particular resource disappear, what will happen? A link is from here to here. So now this is the link will be represented like this. This is how the link will be represented here. When I remove this particular resource R1, so there will be link from P1 to P2. That indicates that P1 is waiting for some resource which is actually held by the process P2. Same if you see from P2, there is a resource going to R4. From R4, there is a link to R3. So when I remove this particular resource, directly a link will be there between P3 and P2 and P3. What does that indicate? That P2 is waiting for some resource which is held by the process P3, and it is waiting for P3 to remove the resource. Same way here. See, you can see here from P3 you are having a access to, means this P3 is requesting a resource R5, but this R5 is present with whom? P4. So when I remove this, there will be a link from here to here. Same way there will be a link from here to here. Indirectly what it means to say there is a link from here. Okay, let me show it so that it becomes easy for you people. So this is a resource allocation graph. Now I'm going to convert this into a wait for graph. And this is what we call it as a wait for graph. You can see here clearly. Have you seen this? Now from P1, I'm accessing resource R1, and that resource I want to access resource R1, but this resource is present with P2. So you can see there is a link from P1 to P2. Means P1 is waiting for the resource R1, which is actually being used by right now P2. So there is a link from P1 to P2. So P1 is waiting for P2 to release this particular resource. Very easy. And same way from P2, you are having a link to R3, means P2 is requesting resource 3, but who is having this resource? P5. So directly there is a link from P2. So I simply remove these resources. This R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, and R2. I simply removed it. Whatever the links are there which are going in the direction, I simply provided it. So it indicates. So this is what we call it as a wait for graph. And based on this, we can try to detect if there is a deadlock. Means if there is a deadlock present in the system, can simply try to detect where exactly the deadlock situation has taken place. So that is the best part of this particular wait for graph. Okay, I hope you people have understood. Only thing is, whatever the graph is there, it should consist of single instance, and that will be converted into this, where we will not be representing any resources. All the processes will be present and their arrows will be present. Based upon the arrow, we will be coming to know which process is waiting for which particular resource. Like P4, P4 is waiting for some resource which is held by this particular process P1, and P1 is waiting for some resource which is held by the process P2, and P2 is waiting for the process resource which is held by the P4, as well as it is held by P5, as well as it is held by P3. Whereas P3 is waiting for the resource which is held by the process P4. So this is the way how we can represent it. I hope we people have understood. That is related to single instance. But when we have multiple instances, we cannot apply this. So definitely we have to use some algorithm. So these are the data structures what we are going to use here, similar to the one what we have seen in the previous session related to your deadlock avoidance. So we have a available here. Only difference is that we will not be having something called as need matrix. In this case, we will not be having something called as a need matrix. We don't have any need matrix in this case. Only thing we have is available, allocation, request. This is something new. And based upon this request only, we are actually going to perform all the different operations what we can perform here in this particular scenario. And let's directly head towards the algorithm. Now, this is algorithm which we are using in order to determine whether a deadlock is present in the system, means where exactly the deadlock is present. Similar to the one like we have discussed in safety algorithm in your deadlock avoidance. In the deadlock avoidance, we have discussed about safety algorithm, right? The same thing is what we are applying here, but only difference here is something here. You can see here. There in the safety algorithm, we have written something called as need. Well, need of I less than equal to verb. That is what we have written in the safety algorithm in deadlock avoidance. But whereas coming to deadlock detection algorithm, that need matrix is actually been replaced with the request matrix, because we are not interested in allocating the resources in detection, because here already deadlock has taken place. Now I want to find out something like, so one of the human being has got affected with something like some malaria or something. Now I have to find out, okay, means he's having fever. Now I have to find out whether that fever is malaria, or whether it is a jaundice, or whether it is some other dengue or something like that. That is what I wanted to determine here. Okay, so that for that I don't require any need matrix. So here I just wanted to find out where exactly this deadlock has taken place. What are the processes that are present in a deadlock, that I wanted to determine it. So I don't require this need matrix. Instead of need, I'm going to use the request matrix. Remaining process is same. If you remember the previous one, the same process we are going to apply here. And remember that what is the time complexity for this particular algorithm is going to take place is order of m into n square. I think you people understand what do you mean by m. M is the one which we use it to represent the resources, and N is the one which we use to represent the number of processes we have. Suppose we have 4 processes, 4 square, 16 into how many processes? Let us suppose we have 3 resources. So it is going to take 48. Okay, order of 48 units of time in order to perform this particular detect a particular deadlock. I mean, whatever the deadlock detection, where exactly it has taken place. Suppose I am taking 5 resources, so 5 squares is 25, and I have 5 processes. So 5 square is equal to 25 processes plus into what is that we have here is m. M is nothing but 4 resources. So 25 into 4. So almost 100. So it is going to take order of 100 units of time in order to determine where exactly which processes are present in a deadlock state. Okay. Okay, I'll just explain this with an example here so that it becomes easy for you people to understand. Now here, this is the table I'm taking here. So where we have something called, we have processes P0 to P4. So that means total how many? 5 processes we are exactly having in this particular thing. And we have allocation here, allocation matrix, request matrix available. So I don't, right now the operating system doesn't consist of any of the resource. ABC are the resources. It doesn't consist of any of the resource right now. Whatever the resource it is having, it has already allocated. Okay, it has totally allocated the resources. So what are the total resources A is having here? You can see here A is having how many resources. So I want to know what is the total amount of resources we have for A, B, and C, so that we can get a clarity whether we are doing it perfectly or not. So what is the A here? Simple. In the allocation matrix, like in your deadlock avoidance, same way here in the allocation matrix, in A, how many have allocated? Add it up. So 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 plus 2 is 7. So total resources we have A is 7, because in the available we don't have. If we have available in A something like 2, so 7 plus 2 we have to do. Since there is 0, so we don't. 7 plus 0 is 7. Now B, coming to B, how many? 1, 2. 2 plus available 0. So 2 plus 0 is 2. Now coming to C, 3 plus 1, 4, 5, 6 plus 0. So 6. So total how many resources we are having here? 7, 2, 6. Fine. Now let's start working on this. Same like your safety algorithm. First thing is first work. So work equal to what we had to do, work equal to available. What is available here? 0, 0, 0. Since this is a vector represented using a square. So I'm going to run this algorithm same like the previous one. So work equal to available. Now, if allocation of I is not equal to 0, so initially all the allocations will be not equal to 0. Okay, because we did not, if not nothing is allocated to any of the process, then we can say that finish of I is equal to false. Okay, if it is not equal to 0, if it is equal to 0, then finish of I equal to true. What does that means here? Suppose for P0, you did not allocate any resource. 0, 0, let us assume 0, 0, 0 means what is that? This process doesn't require any of the resource, means this process has completed execution, isn't it? So what you can write, finish of process 0 is equal to true. What does that indicates? That this particular process has completed executing it. That is what he means to say in this particular case. But if you see here in this case, all the processes has been allocated some resources. So definitely no process has completed execution. So definitely you have to write finish of I equal to false. So initially finish of 0 equal to false, 1 equal to false, so 2 false, 3 equal to false. So I'm writing shortcuts here, please don't mind. So false equal to false. Now we have to go and start the process here. Same like the what we have applied for safety for I equal to 0. So first I have, what is the difference here? Finish of I equal to, first I have to find whether finish of I is equal to false or not. Condition true. Now next what you have to do, request, not need. We don't have a need matrix here. We are going to use a request matrix. So what is the request here? 0, 0, 0. So 0, 0, 0 is less than equal to work matrix. What is the work matrix we have here? 0, 0, 0. So 0, 0, 0. If you see here, it is not less than, but it is equal to, right? So what we can do, work equal to work plus allocation. So 0, 0, 0 plus work plus allocation. So you can see here, work equal to work plus allocation of that particular process. What is the allocation for P0? 0, 1, 0. So that I'm simply going to add it up here. So how much I'm going to get here? 0, 1, 0. Now you can see here the work has been done for this particular process. So finish of I is equal to true. So what is the sequence I got initially is P0. Now I'm going to erase it. Okay, first let me update this work here. What is the work I got here? 0, 1, 0. So let me update this now. 0, 1, 0. Fine. Now I can erase it. So I'm erasing this particular feature. Okay, I equal to 0 is completed. Now I will be going to the next one. I equal to 1. So next process, same process. So finish of 1, you can see here this is become true, remove it. So you come finish of 1 is false, condition true. What you have to do, request. What is the request of this particular P1 here? 202. You can see request is 202. So you have to see 202 is whether less than equal to work, means how much we have? 0, 1, 0. But this time the condition fails because this particular process P1 requires 2 instances of A, but we don't have 2 instances. We don't have any instances. Coming to B, it requires 0 instances, but we are having 1. It doesn't require B instance, but it requires C. How many? 2. But 2, I mean, C we don't have. So finally this condition fails. Then we'll skip to the third one. So we are asking this particular process P1 to wait until we have sufficient resource. We'll go to the third process now. What is the third process here? I equal to 2, sorry, not 3, 2. Now if you're coming to 2, 2 is also, if you see here, it is false, condition true. What is the request of this? 0, 0, 0. So 0, 0, 0 is less than equal to work. What is the work here? 0, 1, 0. So condition, I think you people can see it is true because 0 is equal to 0. This 0 is less than 1 and this 0 is equal to 0. Condition satisfied. So what I have to do? Work equal to work plus allocation. What is the value of work here? 0, 1, 0. So 0, 1, 0 plus allocation. How much we have allocated for process 2? 303. So 303. So what I have to do now? I simply add it. So 313. You people, you have got 313. So now you have to update this. This thing you have to update now. So how much we got? 313. So this time it is 313. So 2 has also completed. So the next element what we have here is P2. So that is nothing but finish of true is equal to true. This condition. Again, we are repeating it. So this time 2 is completed. Now this time I'm going with 3. 3. Same. Finish of 3 is equal to false. Condition true. So what I have to do? Request 100. So 100 is less than equal to 313. Condition is satisfied, right? So what we can do? Work equal to work plus allocation. So 313 plus what is allocation here? How much we allocated for the process P3 here? 211. So that I'm going to write 211. So 5, 2, 4. So what is the new matrix I got here? The new vectors what I got here is 214. Sorry, 524. So I'm going to write here 524. Means process 3 has completed. So process 3 has completed. Fine. Now we can erase this. And now next one is 4. So next process we have is process number 4. Same process. Finish of. So this is completed. 2 is completed. Now you're coming to the process number 4. What is this? Condition is true. It is false. So we have to check. What is the request? 002. So 002 is less than equal to 524. Well, the conditions are satisfied. So work equal to work plus allocation. So that is 524 plus how much we allocated for the process for here? 002. So 002. So how much you're going to get? 5. So this is 0. Don't confuse it. 2, 6. 5, 2, 6. So I think you people can understand. Now we have to update this. So 5, 2 and this one will be 6. And finish of 4 equal to now true. And this will convert into true. So this is also completed. Now since we have completed all the process, but only one process is left now. What is the process? That I equal to 1, which we did not see. So we will be coming back again to this particular process I equal to 1. So let me write here P4. Then we'll come back to the process number 1. Now we will again check it up. What is the request here? 202. 202 is less than equal to 526, isn't it? The condition satisfied. Now this time we have resources to allocate. Now system has allocated the resource. Now we are taking it back. Work equal to work plus allocation. 526 plus what we have to do? The allocation to this particular process. How much? 200 to the process 1. 200. How much are going to get? 726. And this process has also completed. Now, if you see here, you people got a sequence. You people got a sequence where all the process have successfully executed. You people can there is no deadlock in this particular situation. I think you people are getting it right. This is the way how we people have to apply this particular algorithm. Same like your deadlock avoidance, we have applied it. So no deadlock situation has come up. Is going to give it. This is what we have. You assume that at process P2. Now let us assume that process P2 has requested one instance of a resource type C. Means initially what is the process here? P2 is having 0, 0, 0. Now, but after some time, this process P2 has requested one instance of resource type C. Means now the request will become 0, 0, 1. See here, this time what he's saying is after some time, means after we executed, we got a sequence. So there is no deadlock. After some time, what happened? This particular process requested one instance of resource type C. So the request matrix has been changed now. So here, what is the matrix here? 0, 0, 1. Now we have to find out whether deadlock existing. So whether there is a deadlock or not. And if there is a deadlock, which processes are in a deadlock state. Same algorithm we are going to apply one more time. So first thing what we have to do here is simple. Work equal to available. How many we have available here? Zeros. So initially all are zeros. And finish of everything is equal to how much we had to write? So finish of 0 equal to false. It hasn't complete because they are having numbers. If all the three processes, okay, sorry for this, sorry for the interruption. Yeah. So here, if this particular processes, if any of the process consists of all the three resources 0, 0, 0 in the allocation, then you can say that that particular process is completed. But every process in the allocation is having numbers, so no one has completed. So finish of 0 equal to 1. I mean false, 1 also false means they did not complete it. Finish means that particular process 0 did not finish. Finish of 1 equal to false means the process 1 P1 did not complete its execution. Finish of 2 equal to false. So again, I'm writing like this. Okay, 2, 3, false, and then finally finish of 4 equal to false. So you have to write in complete. I'm just normally writing it up. Okay, so when you're writing or executing it, you have to write in complete. Now, same process. So work equal to available that I have did 0, 0, 0. Now we'll be starting the condition. So initial I'll start with 0. Work I equal to 0. So I equal to 0 means first process. So what I have to do? Finish of I is equal to false. A condition is satisfied. Now request. What is the request we have for process 0? 0, 0, 0. So 0, 0, 0 is less than equal to work. How much we have? 0, 0, 0. So you can see that it is not less than, but it is equal to. Fine. So work is equal to work plus allocation. So how much we'll get? 0, 0, 0. Work plus allocation. How much we have allocated for this particular process P0? 0, 1, 0. So I'm going to write here. Please understand this carefully and please observe this carefully because you will find a difference now. Earlier we got a sequence, but now you're not going to get any sequence. So 0, 1, 0 means what I have to do? I simply had to remove this. So I have to update here 0, 1, 0. And finish of I is equal to, I mean finish of 0 is equal to true. Means this process P0 has completed execution. So what is the sequence we got here is P0 first. Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's go to the next one. What is the next one we have here in the loop? I equal to 1. That is process number 1. So what is the request? Okay, so process number 1 is false. So he did not complete the task. We can go, we can check it up. So what is the request is having 202. So 202 is the request. Request is less than equal to work. What is the value we have in the work here? 010. So 010. And you know that it is less than. Okay, so the request is greater than work. So the condition satisfied means dissatisfied. The condition is not satisfied because 2 is greater than 0. And 2 and the C also, the C resource 2 is also greater than 0. So definitely you cannot execute it. So we cannot allocate resource to this. We will ask this process to wait and we'll move forward to the next process. I equal to 2. So I'm coming to this particular process. Now listen carefully here, understand this. Now finish of 2 is equal to false, right? Cool, that's pretty cool. So we will be, what we are going to do, we'll discuss about now request. So what is the request? We have 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1. From here you will see the changes. So 0, 0, 1 is less than equal to 0, 1, 0. Now when you compare this, 0 is equal to 0. Fine. 0 is less than 1. That is also fine. But when you're comparing the C, the resource number C, 1 is less than 0. Well, that is not possible. This is where earlier we got 0. Earlier we had here C as 0. We were able to process it. But this time he's requesting one resource of C. But we don't have that resource. Now this time the condition failed. So 2 cannot execute, isn't it? Because process 2 requires one instance of C, but we don't have it. We can't allocate. We will ask process number 2 to wait. We'll ask that particular process, you wait until we go further and we get the resource. Then we'll go to the resource number 3. So you can see resource number 3 is also false here. So see here, process number 2 is false. This is also false. This has become true. This has vanished. So 1 is false, 2 is false. Now we are at 3. So 3 is false now. Okay, what is a request we have for 3? 100. So 100, the request is less than equal to work. How much we have work here? 010. Now you people can see this time also the condition will not be satisfied in this case also. Why? It requires one instance of A, but we operating system doesn't have that instance. Again, this condition failed. Fine. Next, go to next I equal to 4. Now when you come to I equal to 4, what is the request is having? 002. 002. Then less than equal to work. What is work here? 010. Now, if you see here, this fourth process requires 2 instances of resource type C. But how many the operating system is having? 0. This condition also failed. So you're not able to allocate. Now we have to go back. Where we have to go back? I equal to 2. But if you see here, if you go to I equal to 1, I equal to 1, you have to restart. But again, the same process, because there is no change in the work, the available resources means only P naught is able to execute. Remaining processes are not able to execute. Now you people can clearly say that a deadlock is there. A deadlock has taken place because this particular process P2 has requested one instance of resource type C. And because of this, earlier we got a sequence, but did we get a sequence now here? We did not get it here. So what happened here? A deadlock situation has come up. Now, what are the processes which are in deadlock? Can you identify it? You clearly know that P0 has completed. So what are the different processes which are in deadlock now? P1, P2, P3, and P4. These are in a deadlock state. These processes are in a deadlock state. I hope you people have understood how exactly this deadlock detection works. Now the system has detected, this algorithm has detected that there is a deadlock in the system and the deadlock has arisen due to process 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what is the main reason for existing of this particular deadlock? Because this particular process P2 has requested one instance of C. And this is the reason why all these 4 processes are in a deadlock state. This is the way how your deadlock detection algorithm works. Very, very simple. Only thing is you people have to remember these 4 points and the rest you people can do it as you do. Simply it's a mathematical formulas we are applying. That's it. I hope you people have understood this. So this is how exactly this particular deadlock detection algorithm works. So this is the example what I have explained to you. So that is what I'm representing here. Same whatever we have seen it. So I think we've got the same sequence. And later on, when we P2 has requested one instance, you can see the request matrix has been changed. Earlier, we had here the request matrix 000, but this time the request matrix is 1. Again, we applied that particular safety algorithm, whatever we have seen detection algorithm, and detected that there is a what we call deadlock. And deadlock exists consisting of process P1, P2, P3, and P4. Now, this is there is a deadlock is existing here. What we had to do, we had to recover it, right? So for recovery, there are different assumptions and promotions have been given here. This is what we have. So give me just 2 minutes so that I can complete the topic. Here in deadlock detection is completed. Once the deadlock detection is completed, what we have to do now, we have to recover from that. How can we recover is there are different alternatives. First alternative is we can inform the operator who is actually working on that system saying that the deadlock has taken place. You try to remove that particular deadlock manually. Okay, so whoever is operating on that particular system will inform them, okay, there is a deadlock in your system. You please try to remove it. How can he do it? Manually by writing some code or something like that. If that is not the alternative, you can use another alternative here. What is that? We can make the operating system to recover this particular system automatically. Okay, we will left this situation on the system. We will not inform to the operator. We will leave this onto the operating system itself to recover from this particular situation. And when operating system try to recover from this particular situation, there are two things that this particular operating system is going to perform. What are those? First, either it will try to abort one or more processes which are in a circular wait condition. Means I think you people know about circular wait. We already discussed in deadlock prevention. So it will try to terminate the process which are in a deadlock state. So earlier we had a deadlock state. How many processes? P1, P2, P3, and P4 in the previous example. So in this, any one of the process, one or two process, it will try to remove it. It will terminate their processes so that the resources, whatever we are getting it, we can give to them, they can complete it. And then we will give this particular processes P3 and P4 the chance to execute. This is the way how exactly it exactly does. That is one alternative an operating system takes into account to break the deadlock. Second alternative is we can preempt the resources. Means this time we will not abort the processes, rather we will just take back the resources from the processes which are in deadlock. So P1, P2, P3 and P4 are in a deadlock state, right? So among them, one or two processes, whatever the resources they are having, I will take it up, and that resources I will give this P1 and P2. They will be executing it. Once they complete it, they will release the resources. I will be having sufficient resources. Now I will allocate those resources to P3 and P4. That totally depends upon the system which one it is going to opt for, whether it will remove that, I mean whether it will just block the processes, I mean terminate the processes, or it is going to take the resources from those particular processes. Now if you talk about preemption, if you want to terminate the processes, there are two methods here. About all deadlock processes, so whichever process are there. So in the previous example we had P1, P2, P3, P4, all these are deadlock process. So either we can abort all the deadlock processes, or we can abort one process at a time until the deadlock cycle is eliminated. So either we can terminate all the four processes at a time, or the second method is aborting one at a time. So first one, there is a disadvantage. What is that? All these processes might have executed certain amount of time, isn't it? Suppose this process has completed 50% of the task. This process P2 has completed 90% of the task. Now, if you abort all this process, what will happen? They have to execute again from the beginning. Means whatever the time they have spent, around 90% of the task to complete, that is getting wasted. That is the drawback in this aborting all the deadlock process. Now, if you come to the second one, what is the second one? Aborting one process at a time. Here we have a overhead. Overhead is nothing but headache. What is the headache here is whenever you're trying to remove one of the process, suppose I have eliminated this particular process, I need to run a safety algorithm in deadlock avoidance what we have. That I have to run to see whether there is any what we call deadlock situation or not. I have to run. So suppose there is a deadlock situation. So what I have to do, I will be removing one more time this process number 3. Now again I have to run this algorithm. Still deadlock is existing. I had to remove P3. Again, I had to run. So what happened here? The number of times you are eliminating one process, that many times you have to execute this particular safety algorithm. And you know that solving safety algorithm, it is going to take time consumption. So these are some of the drawbacks that exist in aborting all the deadlock process and aborting one process at a time. Then you may be having doubts, so which one we have to follow then? Which one the operating system will follow? Well, depending upon the situation, the operating system will be deciding either to go with this, either to go with this particular thing. Now coming to the process termination here, there are three things that need to be considered here. So when you're process terminating, when you're terminating the resources, and means you're taking back the resources from the processes, then you have three issues here. Selecting a victim. Now you know that in the previous example, we had P1, P2, P3, and P4 as deadlock. Now, if I ask you which one you want to remove, which resource, which among them you want to access the resource? Now, can you tell me here which one we can take, either P1, P2, P3, or P4? We can't say that. Why? Because we don't know exactly which one to pick up, because this process might have completed 90%, this process might have completed 50%, this might have completed 40, this might have completed 10%. Now based on this, you can say that P4 has completed only 10% among others. I will remove this. Well, that depends upon the scenario. So selecting a victim is actually a challenge for the operating system. Next is rollback. Rollback means going to the previous location, going into the past. So rollback is also one of the issue we have. Then starvation. There is a possibility that we may be deleting the same process again and again. We may be taking back the resources from the same process again and again. Maybe it is having a low priority. So I'm just trying to get the resources from this process before again and again. So this results in a starvation of this particular process. So these are some of the issues that exist when we are actually trying to recover the deadlock situation. So selecting a victim is a main challenge for the operating system. How to roll back to the past or the previous slow node, whatever we have, that is a challenge here. And then we should make sure that any of the process is not in a victim state. Victim in the sense not but starvation state. So this is a very typical thing. Okay, so these are the three issues that exist when we are actually performing resource preemption. But operating system manages that. How it is managing is making sure that deadlock situation never come in the situation in this particular scenario. So this is all about for your this particular unit, and with the help of this we have actually completed your fourth unit. Okay, so in the next session we'll go for the new topic whatever we have. I hope you people have understood it. So just go through the video one more time so that you people can clearly understand how to work on this and how to solve this, so that it becomes easy for you people to understand. So this is all about for today's session. Thank you for watching.